interesting point that you made, and I want to shift the conversation a little bit to this topic of collective consciousness. I know that, based on one of your earlier podcasts that I heard, that, you're also somebody who believes in spirituality, right? So science as well as spirituality. That's what got me connected. That's why I reached out to you, because I'm also somebody who believes very firmly established on the science side, but also somebody who believes in spirituality. And it's a little controversial topic to bring about on the first session of my podcast, because a lot of people who are on the science side tend to stay away from what they call, something maybe metaphysical, or, whatever, what does this word spirituality mean, and so on. But having said that, it's something very important. So I want to, sort of have a little bit of a discussion around that. And how do you define spirituality, and what do you mean by collective consciousness?
Well, how do I define spirituality? Well, that's a very difficult one. I describe it as the inner world, and the technology is the outside world. And what I think is that those two are merging more and more. In the early days, you had religion and spirituality, and you had science. And what we today see with quantum physics, we can quantify what's happening in the spiritual world. So it gives us a language to describe what's happening in the spiritual world, and also to understand what is happening there. So I think the more we move into the quantum world and quantum computing, quantum the information transportation, quantum networks, the more we understand the quantum field, or consciousness, and how we can interact with that consciousness. So I think it will move us towards more interaction with the quantum field, or therefore higher realms, or whatever name you give it, whatever label you give it. So I think that these two realms are moving towards each other. And we see more and more technologies that are able to, for example, make a scan of your energetic body and measure if you have all kind of diseases or these kind of things. So the sensors and the AI are now becoming so sensitive that they can measure very subtle frequency changes in the field. So I think that the more advanced technology becomes, the more we understand that spiritual world, and therefore we more are able to quantify it and label it in a way that is for people accessible, and that's happening in a very rapid rate right now. So I'm very positive that technology will help us to understand the spiritual part much better, and that's also the subtitle of my book: Go Digital, Stay Human. So the faster we go digital, the more powerful technology we have, the more we have to go inside and decide, how are we going to use all this power? Because if we use it in a wrong way, it could be the end of humanity within a couple of years. So I think it's like a duality. It's like a contradiction. The more powerful technology we have, the more we have to go inside, and the more conscious we have to become how to use that technology. And I think that's the challenge that we have, especially in the next 10 years, during COVID and all kind of crises that come towards us. We have all the power, we have all the technologies to solve all the problems that we have, but we also have to develop the mindset. So we have to go to make that inner journey. And I think COVID is perhaps one leap, one step in the direction. People work from home, start to ask themselves, okay, what is life really about? Did I really enjoy my work at a big corporation, or do I want to become an entrepreneur or something and make the world a better place? So I think that conversation is going on with a lot of people at this moment. So it's a waking up process for people to start seeing what really matters in life. And I'm very hopeful that we will see a lot of more of that in the next 10 years.
Oh, so there is this whole conversation happening around the Great Resignation right now. So many people are leaving large corporates. By the way, I left a large corporate. I left a 28-year-old experience in the corporate sector in March this year to be on my own and do things that I want to do. I'm, coming to the realization that there is only so much time. This is my opportunity to do what I really want to do, the kind of impact I want to make on this world, and so on. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great example that you gave, and it's very close to home for me. Coming back to the other question, how do you define collective consciousness? Because you use that term, and I'm really keen to get into the depths of that conversation.
Yeah, I think everything in our universe has some level of consciousness, from molecules to atoms to cells. we have a body consciousness, so we are aware that we are here and we can interact with our environment. And I think our society will also have some kind of consciousness, and it's still in the early stage of development. But with each new wave of technology, we are challenged to raise our level of consciousness, because if we are interconnected with each other, we can use it in the wrong way, like Facebook is doing right now for most of the part, but we can also use it for a good way, to a beneficial way for humanity. So these technologies challenge us to become more conscious of our collective, because if we are highly connected 10 years from now using holographic technology, and we see people right straight in front of us, the same size as in the real world, and you cannot distinguish if it's a real person or a hologram, then we will have a completely different kind of society. We will collaborate. We will have instant empathy if we can look through someone else's eyes, for example. So I think that will help us to become aware, develop a more holistic view of our society, and therefore develop a more a global kind of consciousness, Earth consciousness. And that sounds a bit whooshy, but it's more of an awareness that everything is connected. We as human beings, we with nature, Earth, every ecosystem on Earth is connected to each other. And today we still think that we are some kind of super beings that are separated from nature. But I think with all the crises that are ahead of us, we will realize more and more that we are an integral part of other ecosystems. And before we understand that, if we don't understand that fast enough, we will destroy other ecosystems, and therefore our own ecosystem will also be destroyed. So I think it's collective consciousness is like an awareness that everything is one, is connected on an energetic level, but also on a material level. So that's, I think, the thing that we should develop on a global scale. Help people to realize that everything is interconnected, and every action has a reaction. And today all our reactions are in a remote country, so we buy products that are made in China, and all the pollution is done in China. So we are not confronted with it, but it's happening because everything on Earth is connected. So the more we use technology, the more the feedback loop becomes shorter, the faster we see that the harm that we do to nature. And I think that's where technology comes into play as a kind of mirror. It shows us how we behave and how we treat Earth, and it reflects on us back. And because we have many sensors in place, and that will grow exponentially in the next few years, we will see directly how our behavior influences the sky, pollutions in the sky, pollutions in the sea, our rainforests, all these things. So the shorter the feedback loop, the faster we can learn, and the more we can become conscious of our collective.
That's a very, very good way to define it. Definitely, I think a very important point that you made about the fact that technology becomes a bigger enabler of the awareness that we are all connected, right? And acting as a mirror to show us that what is happening, whether good is happening or bad is happening, it's all there to see, which was not there if technology was not there, the kind of connectivity we have today was not there. And I think that's a big step in the history of human evolution, right? In terms of the opportunity to act as a common race for the benefit of the race and for the benefit of the planet, right? And that's there today, whether people realize it or not, and the choice is in our hands.